Hi everyone and welcome back to another Blender tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to understand how to create holes that allow for the subdivision modifier to be applied to them. Now if you ever come across this when you do such thing as a boolean cut such as this, where you have a cylinder, this one here, and it's being cut away using the modifier from this mesh here. And then you go in and say, click the mesh and add a modifier. And we look at the subdivision surface modifier. So we apply one of those. And when you apply it, no matter what you do, you end up with basically something that doesn't even look like a hole anymore, a round hole. It's deformed, it's no good for our modeling process. But with this one on the left, if I go through the same process, you see straight away we are getting a nice clean subdivide in there and a very clean hole. So why is this? Well, this all comes down to the topology of the model itself. Let's drop into edit mode. And I'm going to hide the modifier. And we can see the difference. So here you can see that we have the hole in the middle, and it's been created by using edge loops, beveling vertices, and applying the final extrude. Whereas this one on the right has been applied by just creating a extrude from a plane and then creating a cylinder that's been used in a boolean operation to remove from the surface. This is obviously quicker, but when you're applying modifiers and looking for nice clean meshes, then this starts to break down. So if we come into our panel on the right here, and that's come up and choose this one, we can see the topology underneath. So straight away, you can see a bit of a problem here. The boolean has created two faces that do not flow, and if we look inside, and though it's a nice clean circle, there is a number of faces in there and there's no supporting structure around here. What we've got to think about is if we look at something like a map and look at the contour lines in the map, it flows nicely around the hills and the mountains. We don't get anything like this. And that needs to be applied when we're creating models that we're going to use such things as subdivision modifiers on. If you're looking for something very basic that you want to 3D print, then something like this will be fine. But the minute you put those modifiers on top, it starts to break down. So let's run through how we would create both of these. I'm going to start a new project. We'll remove the cube from the center, hitting delete after selecting it. I'm in object mode at the moment, and we're going to go through the basic boolean workflow to start with. Come up to add, come down to meshes, and add a plane. Our plane's been added. I'm going to come over to the option on the left here and set the plane to something like 8 meters. I'm working in meters. It's whatever scale you've selected for Blender. I'm now going to come up to the top and add another mesh. Come down to mesh, and this time I'm going to add a cylinder. I'm going to take those defaults. If we look, we can see that the cylinder is intersecting the mesh. So the simple boolean process we can do via the modifiers. So come over to the wrench icon on the right and click that. Now we want to add the modifier to the plane. This is the one we want to keep. The one we want to remove is the cylinder. Add the modifier, and then we come down to generate and boolean. It's going to ask us what object we want to use. So this is almost like a cutting tool. I'm going to select the eyedropper on the end and select the cylinder. You notice we've got a circle appear here. This is the edge. We can see we've got a difference. If we come up to the top, we can hide the cylinder clicking on this icon, and we get the hole in there. The next thing I'm going to do is extrude this. I'm still in object mode. If I come over to edit mode, because the modifier hasn't been applied, we still have the plane mesh. We can't apply the modifier from here because it's grayed out. We have to be in object mode. Therefore, we can come over and apply the modifier. It disappears from the stack. And now when we come into edit mode, we see the hole is there and our faces have changed. I could come in and try to get rid of this face and blend it in with the others. But when we select both of these, click one and shift select the other one. After selecting face mode for our selection, if I right click and come down to dissolve faces, you can see nothing's happened. Even if I select dissolve vertices and click off, nothing has happened there. I'm going to select both these faces again. I'm in face selection mode. And I'm going to click and drag a rectangle around both those and hit E on the keyboard. This will extrude that face. Now, if I look to the top left, I can see how far I'm extruding it. I'm going to use the keyboard and type in 2. And we can see that's 2 and hit enter. We've extruded this 2 meters along the Z. Let's click off and we have our final extrude. But you can see the topology is not very attractive at all. If I come over to object mode and try to add a modifier to this, the plane is selected, add modifier, come down to generate, subdivision surface, then you can see everything starts, well, falling apart. Let's learn how to do this a more topology friendly way. I'm going to delete that plane and the cylinder, right click and delete. We come now to add, mesh, and add the plane again. We've still got the 8 meters remembered from the last time. Let's click off. This time, I'm coming straight into edit mode. I want the hole in the center. Now I could right click and subdivide this to get 2 edges to center that hole if I wanted to. Or, let's click off and Control Z that. Get rid of those edges. I could come up to edge and loop cut and slide. From here, I roll over the middle on either side here, and you can see I get this line that goes across the plane. So this is my reference point. So I'm going to click on the line and I'm going to decide where the line is going to go. So if I wanted to do something down in the bottom right hand corner, I can. So I can place a line here, click off, and then do the same edge, loop cut and slide, and pick horizontal and come down and say I want it here. Look at the top left, you can see the edge slide has a value from 1 to -1. The middle where it started is 0. So we can position this between those 2 values. We just click and drop, and then we get our point that we want to use here. I'm just going to use the subdivision, so I'm going to Control Z that. Select the face, right click, and subdivide. Number of cuts, 1, and click off. So we've got our subdivision. So we created our first 2 loop cuts. We now got to create 2 more loop cuts. So one here and one here, and also the same on the horizontal, making a square in the middle to support our hole. To do that, we need to select the loop cuts. We're on selection mode. And if I select one, you can see only one is selected. Now we could hold down Shift and select the other edge and do it this way. Or if we hold down Alt and Shift and select, you notice the edge is selected throughout that loop, and then select the other. So we've got those selected in there. Let's come up to Edge and Bevel Edges. Click that, and as we move out, what you'll see is that we get those edges beveled, but we're lost our center lines. So those edges that made that center point are lost. If we look down to the bottom, we can see how far we want to take this out. So I'm going to say I want to take this out about 1 meter. So I'm going to type in 1. Now we can use the mouse wheel to add segments in here. I only want 1 segment. If we look down to the bottom, we can also select S and type in the segment. So if I use my mouse wheel and roll it forward, we add segments. Roll it back, we take segments away. I want one like this. We also can use S on the keyboard and type in 2. Click the mouse or hit enter, and we've got the options to change it here before we click off, and it's applied. I'm going to move this 3D cursor out of the way. So we click on the 3D cursor and just place it over here for the time being. Make sure the selection is selected. Now I'm going to bevel the vertex in the middle. So we've created this supporting structure for our hole. Select the vertex. We need to be in vertex select mode. From the select mode, click that. And you can see the vertices have been made visible, and I'll select the center one. Now come up to vertex and bevel vertices. What will happen now as we move out, you'll probably see a different shape. I've got like a star shape coming out from this. And I'm going to move this out to about 0.75. So I can type in 0.75, and we've got 2 segments in here. So if we look down to the bottom, there's S again if we want to change that, or again, I use the mouse wheel. And I just want the 2, and we click off. Now it doesn't look like a hole at the moment, but if we look to the left, we can change the shape. If we move this, we're looking for basically a hexagon shape, because the subdivision will add extra faces to that and smooth out that into a hole. So I'm going to go for 0.075. We'll get a nice hexagon in there. Click to accept. I'm going to repeat this process by clicking the vertex, come up to vertex and bevel vertices. And again, I'm going to come out and add another one. This is going to be the size of my hole, which is going to be 0.5, so 0.5 meters. We click to accept. We've got the hexagon shape because it's remembered it from last time. Click again. We've created the structure. I'm going to remove these faces now using the face select, and I'm going to quickly click one face, hold down Shift and select the others, and right click, delete faces. So we're almost there, but there's one more step I'm going to take to make this even better. At the moment, we have got quads, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. And then we've got something called an n-gon, which is anything more than 4 sides. This one here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm still in face selection mode, so I'm going to go to vertex selection. I'm going to select this vertex here and shift select this vertex. And we're going to create an edge between these two. So we end up getting a quad this side and a quad this side. Come up to vertex, and we're looking at the connect vertex path. Click that, and they are connected with an edge. Repeat the process, and this time I'm going to use a shortcut. Select one, shift select the other, and hit J on the keyboard. And work our way around doing the same. we're building up clean geometry. Also, the insides need doing, so I've got one here, click J, and this one here. And we'll do the final ones at the bottom and top. Once we're finished, we have something like this. You can see how that hole is supported by the geometry. I'm going to look from the top. Select the face selection mode and select all. So all those faces have been selected here. Let's come around slightly. Use the shortcut for extrude, which is E on the keyboard. This will extrude along the Z axis. So we'll lock it to the Z axis. Look to the top, we'll extrude it up to 2 meters by hitting 2 on the keyboard and click off. Click to accept. And now we've got our geometry ready to allow for the subdivision. So now if we come over to object mode and go through the same process, add modifier, generate, subdivision surface. Even with a level 1, you can see we get a much better result. Increase this level. And we've got a much cleaner hole than used in the boolean. So by respecting topology, we can create a much cleaner model. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you're enjoying these videos and you would like to support the channel, then you can do so via my Ko-Fi page. That's at ko-fi.com/MJ3D Studio. Any donations will be used to help expand the channel. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.